Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to For Your Consideration. My name is John Campea. I'm, I guess, your host for this evening. Joining me, as always, for this 20th edition of the podcast. First of all, he is the founder and the editor of ThinkHero.com, Mr. Dennis Zen. Dennis, how you doing?
How's it going, guys?
And also joining us again, I'm looking at a picture.
It is a bastion of excitement here tonight on For Your Consideration. We got a very cautious John Campea, a very sedate Dennis Zen.
I just woke up from a nap.
Yeah,
We're recording this at midnight, actually, and I'm
Dennis,
sitting here looking at a picture of...
permanently waking up from a nap.
I'm sitting here looking at a picture of our other panelist here, Soul Video, with a pineapple on his head, apparently, but I'll put that picture up for everybody to see. So how's your evening going, guys?
Pretty good. I can't complain. How about you, Dennis? I saw you were playing a little Rage earlier, so Dennis always keeps up to date with the latest and greatest in video games. I'm still trying to catch up on Deus Ex, and Campea watches
that last night.
And play Dead Island. So there you go. That's what the FYC crew is playing.
No, actually, I just got back from Sony. I was at the Sony lot tonight. They were having a special presentation of that new Shakespeare movie they got called Anonymous, where it's the movie that it supposes that Shakespeare was a fraud, that he had never actually wrote the works that are credited to him. They're actually written by this Earl of Oxford. And it's an interesting film. I don't know if there's an embargo on it, so I can't really talk about it too much. Just to say, other than to say that I say it. But Rage, is that the game by ID, the same company that did like Doom and stuff? It was funny. Yep. I just watched a review on that game. I was watching G4, and on XPlay they were talking about it, and they said it's amazing. The game is incredible, and it's awesome. But they said the last third of it, and in particular, like the last 20 minutes or half hour, they said is the worst ending to a video game shooter they've ever seen. But they said,
get excited for that, Dennis.
Yeah, so enjoy it while it lasts, dude.
Awesome.
Same thing they said about Anonymous, actually, which is strange because it was a movie about Shakespeare and not actually a video game. But
it's an incredible first-person shooter movie.
It's art imitating life, I guess.
Hey, listen, we got a few items here we're going to talk about. Dennis, let's start with the only probably worthwhile film worth seeing that came out last week, and that is the Seth Rogen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt film 50/50. Dennis, you had a chance to go see 50/50. What did you think of it?
I thought it was great. It was one of those movies that easily could go the wrong way, be like kind of cheesy, not funny. It tackles a very serious subject matter, cancer, and it does it well, and it does it in a heartfelt way without feeling like, I don't know, that you're being like totally manipulated emotionally. So I thought it was great.
Did it ever get too heavy-handed or anything like that?
No, that's what was great about it, I think, because I think the performance that Joseph Gordon-Levitt gives is something where you can see it, what he's dealing with, but it's not a constant thing all the time, he kind of keeps it right there, like on the edge. And I didn't think it was heavy-handed. There's actually more comedy than drama in it overall.
Which, I mean, it's marketed as a comedy.
Yes. And there is definitely dramatic scenes in it, but I would say mostly a comedy, and the dramatic scenes work very well.
You know what? It's an interesting thing. Seth Rogen is a fairly popular, fairly marketable dude. Joseph Gordon-Levitt...
Unless he puts on a green mask.
Unless he was agree. Wait, well, let's face it. That movie didn't do too bad. I mean, Green Hornet didn't do horrible. It didn't live up to expectations, but it didn't do horrible. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, of course, is very popular amongst film fans. From all accounts, the movie was getting really positive ratings. It was getting very well reviewed. Film made $8 million opening weekend. $8.5 million. Came in 5th place on its opening weekend. As a matter of fact, there were 4 films that opened up this past weekend. None of them came in the top 3, which is. But we'll get to those ones in a minute. But yeah, 50-50 fell. Came in behind.
It's because Abduction was crushing it, right?
Yes, actually, Abduction came in 7th, but 50-50 came in just behind another film that just opened, Courageous. And it came in behind The Lion King, a 17-year-old movie in its 3rd week of re-release. Moneyball and Dolphin Tale came in at number 1, which caught me by enormous surprise.
Those fucking dolphins.
Damn.
Never turn your back on a dolphin, Campea.
So why didn't people... Now, I think last week we talked about how we didn't think 50-50 was a film that was going to appeal to a mass demographic. But I don't think we're far to say that I think all of us expected more than 8.6 million for this film, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, starring Seth Rogen, very heavily marketed. Bryce Dallas Howard, the cast is very solid. Anna Kendrick. Why did this film only make $8 million, Soul?
Well, I would disagree about its advertising penetration. I think that we sort of get a skewed view, especially being out in Southern California and in Los Angeles in particular. But in terms of nationwide ad buys, I would be very interested in seeing what was spent, because I think that this was sort of it was like a wide release movie that was marketed like an indie movie, and it was kind of strange because I think that it was really good, and obviously it's carrying like a 92 or 93% on Rotten Tomatoes when, and some of its competition is rocking 3 and 4%. So you'd think it would get that sort of, in word of mouth, like the Help bump, but I don't know. It's clearly not performing. I hope it's not because there's sort of people are a little burnt out on Seth Rogen. I don't think that's it. I mean, I think it's
no. I don't think it is it.
I'll throw my hat in that ring. I think that is part of it.
And then Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I mean, what was the last? Was he Cobra Commander? Was that the last time we saw him?
He's in Inception. Inception. He's not a huge name. I mean, people know who he is, but he's not.
No, he's well respected. Movie fans seem to like him.
Yes, but that's the thing. Movie fans.
I mean, but let's be honest. In Inception, he was no Cobra Commander. I think we can all agree to that.
I know. I mean, that scene, in
First
the
of all,
hallway
I want
was
to know this.
nothing.
Going back to G.I. Joe, if I may, he's wearing like full makeup and a mask the entire time. So it's all like ADR and everything else. So I wish, and I would never pay money for the DVD, but I would love to see like the actual scene as if he's because like, was he doing the Cobra Commander voice under his mask? Was he just doing a line read because he knew it was bullshit? These are the questions that circle in my mind.
Well, the question I have is, we know G.I. Joe 2 is shooting. What I don't know is Joseph Gordon-Levitt back as Cobra Commander? See, that's what keeps me up at night. I need to know those answers. And
He is.
But
it might be in a dream.
Oh, I see. Getting back to 50-50, one of the things you said, Soul, is, you know what? I said this going way back, well before Pineapple Express, before Knocked Up, before things. I really like Seth Rogen. I do. I like him.
I thought you were going to say you were Rogen fatigued halfway through the first time you saw him.
No, I mean, I really, really dig him. I think he's brilliant in 40-Year-Old Virgin. I think he's just got talent. I think he's got a great screen presence, a great charisma. But I've always questioned whether or not he can be a lead. I got that, even though I'm one of these guys who I liked Green Hornet more than most people did. I'm not going to say I loved it, but I think I liked it more than most people did. I like Knocked Up. 50-50 is great.
I feel like he's got a very sort of like Paul Ruddy quality to him in that, he's very good in a specific type of role, in a specific character, you know what I mean? And it's almost like what people want them to see. Like people want to see Paul Rudd playing Paul Rudd. People want to see Seth Rogen being Seth Rogen. So if he's anywhere close to a character that maps to that, character, then I think people are going to react positively to it, as long as they're not being inundated with it.
Dennis?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you in the sense of I'm not sure if he's total leading man material. I also enjoyed Green Hornet than most people did. I really like.
By the way, I take back my statement on Green Hornet. I just looked it up. It made over $227 million.
Okay, yeah, I remember. Now, is that worldwide or domestic? That's worldwide, right?
Yeah, worldwide. I mean, not counting home entertainment or DVD or streaming. So, I mean, it doubled its budget.
What was domestic?
Domestic was only, it almost cracked 100 million.
So yeah, I remember it being respectable. Okay, anyway, sorry, go ahead, Dennis.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, and I like him in this type of role in 50-50 because 50-50, he's not the lead guy. He's he's the second, he's the buddy. He's kind of more like what he was in 40-Year-Old Virgin, but a bigger role, I guess, because he is Seth Rogen. The movie is carried by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I mean, that's the thing about what makes the movie great is his performance, and he's the one who you sympathize with and go through everything with. So Seth Rogen is just the friend that's there that provides comedic relief as well, but also, he has a counterpoint towards what Joseph Gordon-Levitt's kind of going through.
See, and sticking on the thing with Rogen for a bit, but like I said, I've never really bought him as the leading guy, but man, you put him in these supporting roles, and there's something about him. It's that talent set that he has, that he is able to deliver really intense funny in certain windows that other people just can't do. Like I remember Superbad. I think everybody talks McLovin and certain scenes. I thought Seth Rogen, I think Seth was one of my absolute favorite parts of that movie. And because he was in that supporting role, and he's just able to make a good movie better. And he can do that when he's playing supporting roles. And I just never got that as a leading man. Oddly enough, another performer I feel that way about is Rob Schneider. I actually really dig Rob Schneider when he does these smaller parts. And he's a side character in an overall comedy. He gets big laughs out of me, but whenever he tries to lead something, I just can't watch it.
I only like Rob Schneider when he's playing an animal or a woman.
That's the only times he works. Anyway, so that's enough with 50-50. Let's move on from this. This is interesting, and I'm sure, Soul, you'll have some input on this. One of the big pieces of news that went around, I actually did a video blog about this today. One of the biggest pieces of news that was like firing around the movie web sphere for the last 48 hours was talk of Arrested Development. Now, ever since this show went off the air 5+ years ago, the fans of the show have been clamoring for it to either return or for a movie version. And we've seen off and on over the past few years various cast members and producers saying, oh, we think we're getting close to a movie. Oh, we think we're getting close to a movie. So here's what happens. The last couple of days, I hop on my newsreader, following all the movie news sites that I follow, and I'm reading everywhere. Confirmed. That's always the big word. Confirmed. Such an official sounding word. Confirmed. Arrested Development movie on the way, and blah, blah, blah. And here's what it came down to. It was at a panel that was held in New York City where the whole cast and crew of Arrested Development were there. They said, and later Ron Howard kind of said the same thing, that they're working on it, that they're aiming to start shooting.
Which is what they've said they've been working on it for the past decade.
Yes.
Or since whenever it went off air.
but before it ever went on air.
Yeah, but what they said, and what hasn't happened is that Ron Howard hasn't chimed in before. But what they're saying now is that, okay, so we're aiming to start shooting next year. We want to do a 10-episode mini-season, which will build up to and lead up to a feature film. Hopefully, release for 2013. We've got the script. We've got this, and we're all on board. So the movie blogosphere blows up with this word confirmed, which is a huge, huge lie. It's not confirmed. There was nothing about that confirms anything. All it is saying is, like you were just saying, Soul.
He's working on a script, Campea. I mean, people don't work on scripts and not be made into movies. You show me one person in Hollywood who's working on a script that's not being turned into a movie, and I will pay you $10
for each instance.
And you would be a very broke man. You would owe everyone millions and millions of dollars.
That is $10 USD redeemable in 3024 when the American bill has been discontinued.
But yeah, but this is something we've seen the movie blogs here do all the time, and it's unfair to people who are Arrested Development fans because look, no, nothing about that was confirmed. All they said was that they're working on it.
I will defend them. I will defend both of you. I will defend your video blog, and then I will also defend the Arrested Development fanatics out there. I'll defend your video blog first. Mitchell Hurwitz, obviously
the producer, right?
Creator, producer, the brainchild, showrunner,
right.
Guru. He said at that New Yorker festival, he said, and this is what's really strange that it got blown out of proportion. He said, "We're 80% of the way to an answer." Yeah. We don't completely own the property. There are business people involved and studios. But creatively, I've been working on a screenplay for a long time. So that's what he said. Now, he also said that they're trying to do a limited run series. But again, saying trying. So 80%.
I mean, I've been working on a new Star Wars script.
Right.
Too. So I mean, just
and
saying.
You're also trying.
It must be in the works. Must be in the works.
Now I'll defend the fanatics because part of the fuel to the fire is Jason Bateman going on Twitter and saying it's absolutely true. We're going to be doing a 10 episode run and then shooting them all together next summer for release in 2013. So this is coming from Jason Bateman, not only saying it's true but confirming a date. Now, obviously, he's not the end all and be all, but obviously the people that are fans of Arrested Development are obviously following him on Twitter and losing their minds because this is the equivalent of Captain Browncoat, what's his name, Nathan Fillion, saying, "Hey, guess what? Firefly's coming back on the air." I mean, he would never do that to his fans if it wasn't true.
Except, remember this: a couple of years ago, I think like my second most viewed YouTube video on my YouTube channel. I think it might have some like 50,000 views. But remember, a couple of years ago, there was a huge explosion of the web because Michael Caine said that Johnny Depp was going to be the Riddler and Philip Seymour Hoffman was going to be the Penguin in the next Batman movie. And everybody went crazy about it, and all the movie news sites carried it as their headline and blah, 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 blah. I mean, never mind the fact that Christopher Nolan at the time hadn't even signed on to do another Batman film or write another Batman film.
Who is this, Michael Caine?
Yeah.
So are you all right? So just so I get this straight, Michael Caine reporting about a Batman movie that hasn't happened, it doesn't have a director, is the same thing as Jason Bateman confirming a movie that he's the star of.
It's the same thing because he's just an actor. He's not in charge. Look. Here's the thing. Like Ron Howard himself. All right. There's nobody to pay for this thing. It's all well and good for everybody to jump up and down. We're all in agreement. We're going to do it. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. No one's paying for it. And here's the thing. This was the main thrust of my video blog. No one's going to pay for it. This isn't going to happen. Like, I'm not willing to bet the house on that, but I'm going to be really, really surprised if this ever happens because let's face it, as passionate of a following that Arrested Development had, and it deserved a passionate following because it was a great show. Nobody watched it. Well,
okay. So here's my, and we can sort of wrap up on this, but here's my argument against that: is I understand the parallel you're trying to draw to Firefly and Serenity and that sort of stuff, being like, look, it's great if you have a passionate fan base, but that doesn't translate into movie success. Okay, but if you look at the passionate fan base that explodes post-series, especially in DVD sales, that bring series like Family Guy back on the air after 2 or 3 cancellations that can easily bring a series back. Especially, and now I would agree with you in that I don't think Firefly DVD sales, and pushed it into that. It's a very sort of niche market, but Arrested Development blew up outside of that genre in the home entertainment field. So that's why I think there's a little more traction there for saying, okay, there may be a bigger audience now than there ever was for the TV show, simply because nobody watched it when it was live, but a hell of a lot of people watched it in syndication and on DVD.
See, and I keep hearing people saying that this huge, unquantifiable, unprovable, huge, massive people now want. No, there's not. There's not this huge, massive people out there clamoring. It looks like it on the outside. But TV success does not equate to film success. Look at one of the most popular, most famous, most successful TV franchises of our generation of the past 20 years, Friends. Now, granted, they didn't make a Friends movie, but you had 6 very popular, very famous, very successful cast members who came out and all of them bombed when they tried to have film success. Now, some people might say, well, Jennifer Aniston has a career. Jennifer Aniston has a career, but she's never had a hit film. She might have had a presence in 1 or 2 mildly successful films, but Jennifer Aniston has never had a hit film. None of these folks have. It's just TV success doesn't equate. And look, I'm telling you, with it being off the air for 5+ years, the fact that
but it's proven. Like DVD sales bringing series back on the air is proven. Is a concept.
5 years later?
So
no, it's not. Unprecedented. 5 years later is unprecedented. Hasn't happened. And there's a difference between saying, hey, let's roll the dice on making a TV series out of this again, and saying, let's invest $70 million and bring this to the big screen. I just don't see anybody. Look, who's going to do it? Universal strapped for cash. They ain't going to do it. Fox Searchlight, not really their bag. Fox proper, they're really more into tentpole projects. And no, they're the ones who the rights kind of circle around in this kind of abyss between Fox and Universal. I'm not even really clear where the rights really lie between the two of them. But neither one of them are going to pay for this. I guarantee you neither one of them are going to put the money for a film that, I'm sorry, unless they make it for $5 million,
by the way,
is guaranteed not to make money.
The Canadian really comes out in Campea when he says sorry.
Yeah, I don't see it coming back as a movie. Maybe a TV series, but yeah, I think the audience for it just isn't as big as people think.
Television always blurs that. People, it's an illusion. Popularity on television is an illusion when it comes to whether or not it'll translate to the big screen. And look, it's just, this will not make money. And these studios know this isn't going to make money. I can be sold on the idea of them doing just the 10-episode mini thing on like direct to Netflix, which I think there's been some talk about. I could see that happening. I'm not going to argue against that one, but a feature film, I just can't see it happening.
And that is a John Campea guarantee. You heard it here first on For Your Consideration.
I said that once regarding a UFC fight we were saying. I said, I guarantee this fight ain't getting out of the first round. And you just will not let this go. Oh, well. Okay, let's move off Arrested Development. Let's talk about this. Surprise, surprise. It appears that Disney likes the idea
of making free money,
of doing no work, pulling something out of the attic, throwing it in theaters, and making $80 million. Lion King, of course, has been in theaters for 3 weeks. Number 1 twice. 3rd place in its 3rd week of release. Still pulling in $10 million, beating out all the opening films this weekend, including 50-50, Dreamhouse, What's Your Number, and Courageous. So they decided, hey, let's go back up to the attic. And today, they sent out a press release that I got sometime this afternoon. You guys probably saw it. Announcing, now correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm doing this off of memory. I don't have the press release in front of my head, but I believe they've announced that between now and 2013, they're going to be re-releasing in 3D in theaters Beauty and the Beast, Monsters, Inc., Finding Nemo, and in 2013, The Little Mermaid. So, I ask you, are you surprised by this? Of course, the answer to that is no. That was that's a self-answering question. Are you surprised by the selection of the films? Because when you're talking about Disney and Pixar, there's a huge, I don't want to over-exaggerate it, let's say large. There's a large catalog of films and projects they could do it. Are you surprised by the selection of these four? If so, why? If not, why not? Soul, let's start with you.
You start with Dennis. I wasn't paying attention.
All right, let's start with Dennis.
All right, you said Beauty and the Beast, Monsters, Inc., Finding Nemo, and what was the last one?
Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid. I get all of those except for Monsters, Inc. I like Monsters, Inc., but I never thought it was like the upper echelon of Pixar movies, so I don't know why. Maybe it's really popular amongst kids or something like that. But Beauty and the Beast, everyone loves. I love Finding Nemo. I might go see that in 3D if it gets re-released. Little Mermaid, I know all the young girls, I guess, like that. But I don't know. Monsters, Inc. is kind of like Cars to me, where it's like I don't understand its supreme popularity. But yeah, I mean, it's understandable they're going to do this because it is free. It's free money. Why not?
Soul?
All right. They picked the wrong movies, clearly. If they wanted to make the real money, they would have started with Inspector Gadget and then gone Snow Dogs, Treasure Planet, and then maybe Home on the Range or Haunted Mansion. The first one. I mean, of course, it makes sense. I mean, my only problem is I think that the gap for Monsters, Inc. and Finding Nemo may be a little too short. I could be wrong. People are pumping kids out at 12 and 13 now, so maybe there's a new generation ready to go. But you know what I mean? Like what you said earlier, or I was having a conversation earlier about the success of Lion King 3D, and it was like, yeah, that makes sense because the kid, you know, I mean, when you saw that, if you were a teenager, you could easily have kids now and want your kids to see that success. But I mean, Finding Nemo, I guess, when did Finding Nemo come out?
I'm not sure.
That wasn't that long ago. It was
6 or
like
7 years?
something.
Anyway. So that's my only problem. I have no problem. If people are willing to see this shit, great. And when's Star Wars coming out? February? I'm sure that'll be great. So if people are willing to pay it to see it on the big screen, then more power to them. Obviously, they made a really successful movie with a lot of longevity that can be re-released years later. My only hesitation is that they're going to re-release like Tron or something that came out literally within a year, and then it's just like, what? I don't understand. So,
well, okay, Finding Nemo, we're getting close to. It's almost been 9 years. That which is shocking to me because when you first asked when did Finding Nemo come out, my first impression was to say like 5 years ago, but it's been like 9 years.
So what was the key demo for Finding Nemo then? We'll say like what, like whatever, 7 to 13 or something. I
don't know, man. A lot of adults love that film.
No, I know, but I'm just using the generational argument.
Right, okay,
so let's just say like 10. So that means you're 19 now. Well, I hope you got a batch of kids that want to see this thing, or you're just really, really.
Well, no, you're looking at the wrong window. The real window are people who were 19 and 20 and 21 who saw it and loved it, and now they've got kids. I think that's the real window. It's not the ones who were kids when they saw it. It's the ones who were like my age when I saw it and now have kids, which I don't, but who now have kids and want to take them to see it. But also, I mean, I've been talking to a lot of people today.
But it's not a huge demo. Maybe it was because obviously it made a lot of money. But I'm trying to think of like people in their early 20s. It was like, hey guys, let's pile in the car and go see Finding Nemo.
Dude, it made almost $1 billion.
Yeah,
I think it was like 8.5 or 8.4.
Yeah, exactly.
Million.
Pixar movies don't count.
But I'm with you guys. At first, Little Mermaid is beloved, so yeah, I get it. Finding Nemo, a lot of people, not including myself, but a lot of people think Finding Nemo might be Pixar's best picture. So I get that.
That's my favorite one.
Beauty and the Beast. One of the all-time greatest animated films ever. Still to this day, back in the 5 films only, it was the first animated film to be nominated for Best Picture. Of course, until Toy Story 3 did in the 10 nominees era. Monsters, Inc. is also the one to me that at first struck me as a little bit odd, but I will say this. I used to think of Monsters, Inc. as being, okay, all Pixar films were quality, including Cars, but Cars was always clearly the bottom. And then I thought a couple of steps above that, but the next bottom was Monsters, Inc. Now, about a month or two ago, Anne, for those of you who don't know, is my wife, she hadn't seen it, so we sat down and watched it one day, and it was better than I remembered. Like, I'm watching Monsters, Inc. again. It's been a long time since I've seen it. And it was better than I remembered. I was like, it's actually a really, really quality film. And I enjoyed it a lot. But where it makes sense, and this is the part where it really jumps up and makes sense, because still, I mean, I'd even rather see a Ants or a Bug's Life than that. Mm-hmm. But Monsters, Inc. makes sense because they've got the sequel coming out, or the prequel, I should say. They've got Monsters University coming out. So it makes sense from a business standpoint to re-release Monsters, Inc. because you've got the next Monsters movie coming out somewhere in the same window. So it kind of makes sense to me. This was a no-brainer that they do this. And the really nice thing, and this goes back to something Steve Weintraub, editor at Collider, said on one of our podcasts, is when Pixar can make money and Disney can make money, like free money like this, the great thing about this company is they put the money back into the product. They put money into taking risks, and they put money into making new films because they're able to get these huge windfalls. And so, you know what? If Pixar is going to take these mountains of money they're going to make, because I think when you combine these things, I don't think you're necessarily going to see $80 and $100 million results like Lion King did. But if you take these 4 films and get like $200 to $250 million. It's nice knowing that Pixar is going to take that and make more great films with it. So I kind of feel good about that.
And I still think that they should re-release just the double feature of Snow Dogs and Old Dogs.
Although, you know what? The Lion King wasn't the first time, because they re-released
Snow Dogs and Old Dogs
just before Toy Story 3 came out.
In the title.
Just before Toy Story 3 came out, they re-released Toy Story 1 and 2 as a double feature in 3D. And I remember I went to go see it, and the theater was packed. Absolutely packed for that.
And see, that's what I feel like people didn't give Old Dogs a credit, because Old Dogs was a sequel to Snow Dogs. It just didn't make any reference to the characters or plots.
All right, let's you know what? Let's put this one on hold. Soul, you were mentioning something about zombies before we start recording. Talk about that.
So there was a very popular novel that came out. God, I'm not actually sure when it came out, but obviously it was one of the first zombie mashup genre books that sort of took off, or I guess mashup genre books. That actually gained popularity before all the Cowboys and Aliens talk, but it was Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I haven't read it personally. I know I have some friends that really dug it, some friends that were sort of lukewarm on it, but it was a cool concept. It basically took the entire Civil War era and mashed in like zombie. In a zombie plot line, where like Abraham Lincoln, they would take real speech, and I forget the author right now, but he would take real speeches from Abraham Lincoln, but given this context of this zombie apocalypse, it had all these different connotations to real words that he said. So it was really interesting, and it was sort of a cool concept and an interesting book, and I think it obviously sold really well, and and they optioned a movie from it. Now, the problem is that they optioned a movie from it a couple of years ago, and they can't land a director or a lead actress. I think they're on their, let's see, David O. Russell, Mike White, and Gillespie. So maybe they're on their 3rd director, I guess. Now, the news that broke this week was that Blake Lively sort of turned down the lead, and now people are wondering, well, what's going to happen? Because she's like the 5th or 6th actress that's passed on this. They've made public bids for Anne Hathaway, Mia Wasikowska, Scarlett Johansson, Emma Stone, and what's her face, Blake Lively.
I have also made public appeals for all those women,
and,
but for different things.
Campea, who put on a blonde wig and a Bugs Bunny dress and tried to sell it hard. So, I mean, and also Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman was attached as a producer very early on, and I guess they were always sort of hoping maybe she would be interested, but whatever. She's busy having a family and really apparently appreciating actual life right now. But so that's Natalie Portman and the other 5 of them. So they can't get a lead and they can't keep a director. And people are wondering, hey, is this thing actually going to happen? And I think that part of the reason why there's all this hesitation is the mediocre success of Cowboys and Aliens. And sort of, it's weird, the sort of culture or the studio culture that we have where how the success or failure of similar movies can really sink or swim future projects. And I think that it's got to have a really terrible script if all these actresses are passing on it. But then I think it's also the fact that, I don't know, maybe how the studio is approaching the casting is just not very enthusiastic because of Cowboys and Aliens. But that's my 2 cents.
Well, but let's face it too. Cowboys. I don't know if it was the mediocre performance of Cowboys and Aliens, so much as it may be the mediocre performance of all zombie movies ever. And that's not to say zombie movies aren't awesome and aren't fun, but let's face it. Name a blockbuster zombie movie. Like it's a finite demographic. I mean, and I don't know. It just doesn't sound to me like if I was a real Hollywood actor or actress, as the case may be, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies sounds like something as a film fan I wouldn't mind seeing, but I don't know if it's something I'd want to attach my name to it. It sounds like a risky bet. Dennis, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's one of those things where the audience isn't that big for it. I mean,
Shaun of the Dead made 13 million domestic. Well, that's not the one. What about 28?
I was going to say 28 Days Later might be the exception to that. Yeah, check up 28 Days Later because I got a feeling that one made some money.
50 million.
50 million?
The Dawn of the Dead remake made 60. So, it's not huge numbers. 100 worldwide. But I think this is even more niche, though. I mean, come on, it's Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. It's kind of like what people were saying about Abduction. It's like, okay, you're gonna try and get this one audience in for Taylor Lautner, and you're trying to get another audience in for this action movie, And I think that's what Pride and Prejudice and Zombies is like. I don't know.
I don't know.
I think
to me, it's like I think guys would still go for. I think guys who are into zombie movies, I think would find something appealing about mixing the genre. Because look, let's put it this way: if you call it Pride and Prejudice and porn, guys will be into it. Guys will still watch it. They'll dig that because they want the porn.
Zombieland made over 75 million domestic, over 100 million international.
See, this isn't in any book. This is just me. Forever. I don't think you can call something a hit film unless it makes 100 million domestic minimum. That's to me that's the initial benchmark. You got to hit 100 million domestic for me to say that is a blockbuster or a hit film. Obviously, exceptions can be made for a $2 million film that makes 40, obviously, but generally speaking, a big Hollywood film, you got to make 100 million domestic for me to call you a hit. But that's just me. That's not
you listening, Hollywood. If you want John Campea to sign off on your movie as a hit, and you are a zombie, that is your goal. $100 million.
The one mashup that I really wouldn't mind seeing, and I think it's in production. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's always been very fascinating to me is Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I think that looks awesome. And a good friend of mine, Tommy, has just finished reading the book and he loved it. And so I'm kind of anxious. And I know the movie rights were picked up. I just can't remember off the top of my head if it's actually in production or not.
Oh, it's in production.
Oh, it's in production. Okay, I thought so. I just wasn't totally 100% sure. But that looks interesting. Anyway, we're at 42 minutes, so it is time for us to wrap this thing up.
Smell you jerks later.
Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. Don't forget to follow us or like us on our Facebook page. Soul, tell them where they can find that.
Facebook.com/FYC podcast.
You can also follow us on Twitter at the exact same
FYC podcast. If you haven't figured it out, it's FYC podcast.
Don't forget to like us there, and you can subscribe to us through a whole bunch of different methods.
Check it out on Collider.com. Check it out on ThinkHero.com. Check it out on YourMomShow.com.
On YouTube, on Blip, on Apple TV, on Blip TV.
You can go to John Campea's house and knock on his door and ask him to listen to the latest show, and he'll sit you down.
No. He'll do a live performance of it.
Yeah, just sit down. I'll pull up the mic.
He'll play all three roles.
All right.
Yes.
I think it's safe to say next episode we'll actually do another. We got to do the next one all together instead of over the phone. I'm starting to miss the all together one. But anyway, guys, thanks for joining us. Once again, thanks to Dennis Zen.
Good night, people.
Soul Video, John Green.
I hate everyone and everybody.
And my name's John Campea. Thanks a lot for joining us. Until next time. Bye-bye.